Support WrestleTalk!
Order the magazine using the link below.
Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble. This is Luke Owen, I'm Ollie Davis, and today we're reviewing this week's episodes of Raw and Smackdown, including Jinder Mahal challenging Brock Lesnar, the Go Home show for TLC, and oh my god, it's gotta be Kane. It's gotta be Kane, Luke. If you want to go to any of those discussions right away, click the timestamps in the video description below, or stay right here. Well, we're just gonna have a little ramble for a bit. We're gonna talk about we've got a magazine!
Well, I think people are getting sick and tired of us plugging the magazine.
No, they're not. People love stuff to be shoved down their throats. If we learn anything from WWE, Fantasy Booking Warfare, Ultimate Thrill Ride, you've got to keep saying the same thing.
Well, it's like when Finn Balor debuted and they just kept saying, the Demon King, the Demon King, the Demon King, over and over again. It's a good job he got injured, really, because we didn't have to endure that much longer.
Good he got injured, you monster. I remember at that time, I kept on hearing the Demon Kane. The Demon King, if you say it enough, it just, when you say the word share, or any word, but if you say one word over and over again, it sort of loses all meaning and just becomes abstract. So I just pulled from Demon King, Demon Kane. Yeah, well, I was getting confused.
That is easily done. Before we do move on into the reviews, however, there is a little story for me to tell. Because, as many of you who watch the weekend's video will know that Monday's video rather, not the weekend's one, I suffer from sleepwalking of sorts. I get up, I move around. I'm not sure I can fully classify myself as a sleepwalker because I don't always walk out the room.
A somnambulist.
Is that what it is?
That's I believe it's the medical term,
well,
or the posh version.
I did not know that, and I suffer from it. But I actually had I just call it sleepwalking. I had a sleepwalking dream about yourself.
Yeah, so I haven't heard the story. But Luke told me it happened, and we were like, let's save it for on air.
On Monday, because it happened on Sunday night. So I came into the studio on Monday morning, and I was like, I sleptwalked last night, and it was kind of your fault. So I was having a dream about fantasy booking warfare, about you and I discussing a fantasy booking warfare. And then you told me, I've got to stop talking about my fantasy booking warfare, but the rest of it is written on the wall. And so I was like, oh, God, now I've got to read. I've got to find out where it is. Fine. So I got up, and then I just started, feeling the wall and trying to, look around to see if I could find it. My wife-to-be got up and was like, you're all right. And I was like, I've got to look for something. Just hold on. Ollie's asked me to look for this. I've got to look for this up here. Then I got my phone out, started to flash the light on it. She started to freak out because she thinks it might be a spider or something. And then she, kind of coaxes me back into bed. I can't sleep, though, because I'm like, I need to know what the rest of his fantasy booking warfare was.
It was that good. Let's be honest, it was probably a mystery man.
It was actually Braun Strowman. That much I do remember.
Oh, you found out?
Well, no, I didn't find out, but I remember it had something to do with Braun Strowman. I then spent, I'd say, a good 5 minutes, maybe even 10 minutes, going through each one of our WrestleRamble documents on my phone, because I was trying to find where that fantasy booking warfare was.
And you're kind of in a sleepy trance while you're doing this?
Yeah, and I was just on my phone, just scrolling through. It's not that one, back, next one, scroll through. That's not that one either, scroll back. Did that for about 5 minutes.
And then you slowly came to and realised you're a madman.
Well, I suddenly thought, I'll do this in the morning. There's a lot of the times how my sleepwalking ends. I'd be like, I'll sort this out in the morning, and then I go back to sleep.
Your sleepwalking ends with you being lazy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is kind of a weird sleeping. You're managing to be lazy while asleep at the same time.
Yeah, exactly that.
That's really strange. But we will, of course, we did do Fantasy Booking Warfare on Saturday's episode, which is probably why it was fresh in your mind. And we will reveal the winner in this Saturday's episode, which is our TLC predictions. But for now, let's go on to the TLC Go Home show of Raw.
Haha, it's a Raw review looking jacked, man.
This week's Raw, of course, was the Go Home episode of TLC, which
Go Home show for TLC.
Go Home show, what did I say?
Of TLC.
For TLC. And we haven't made... Well, you made a really good no scrubs joke. Or TLC 90s.
Some people thought it was a good joke. I thought it was a pretty solid joke myself, yeah.
Before TLC last year, I would always call it no scrubs, or I would... Don't go chasing waterfalls, just try and cram in as many.
Could you name another
references.
TLC song?
I can tell you one of the names of the people. Lisa Left Eye Lopez, as everyone can. She was the cool one.
She was the cool one. God rest her zombie bones.
So that was I forgot it was the TLC this weekend.
Yeah, it was funny because you said in your Raw review, I forgot this was a go-home show for Raw, and yet I've written here in my notes, great go-home show.
It was a great go-home show, but I only remembered it was a go-home show when it started. I forgot. Oh my God, TLC is this Sunday.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
I didn't
It's funny,
realise it after the fact.
because we had this conversation last week when we were planning out the week's videos that we need to do for this week, and we said like, oh, what can we do in advance? And then we were like, and then we got, we've got to do Hell in a Cell predictions, and we both went, is that this weekend or next weekend? Bloody hell, that's come round quick. It's because we've only got a 2-week gap now, but we're back into that 2-week gap period between pay-per-views.
Yeah, where it's just a predictions video every couple of weeks when we got used to it being once a month.
Yeah.
I guess this is the final one, though, because Survivor Series is a full month away after that. So there'll be some respite. But yes, it opened up with a pretty good voiceover guy going previously on Monday Night Raw.
And we didn't have Kurt Angle come out then to just tell us what we just saw in the
video.
video.
Yeah, I'm a bit sick of that. I get it, you need... So, did you actually need Kurt Angle in there? I guess not. He could have come out afterwards. I guess that what they're thinking is...
Was Angle there?
At the start, yeah, he came out and he was like, well, last week this happened, then this happened, and I just saw all that in the promo, and there's no reason for you to be out here, so you're just saying the words so someone can interrupt you.
Yeah.
That's their sort of back exposition way of getting someone in the ring. Shield come out, though. I was getting a bit like, we're doing this again. But then the Shield came out, and, I've been critical of the nostalgia, and it is nothing more than superficial pops, but they are pretty hefty pops.
Man, what a great pop it was. And I was like, this is awesome. And this is a great moment, seeing them coming out of the crowd again. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. Like, you're right, it is completely superficial, and it's there just as a nostalgia pop, but man, it's working on me. It's been interesting to see in the comments of news episodes that we have done about the Shield, or reviews we have done which feature the Shield, from fans who weren't fans when the Shield were around. And for them, they feel like it's all overhype. They think it's actually a detriment to the show, because you've then got commentators and fans like you and I sitting here going like, oh, it's great, the Shield are back, they're ace, this, that, and the other. And they're like, but I don't like Roman Reigns, and if anything, he's just holding back Seth and Dean from doing anything good. It's actually really interesting. It's a bit like, so I got into wrestling after Michaels. Really, like Michaels was already injured by the time I really got into wrestling. He was on this shelf. So my knowledge of Shawn Michaels, apart from WWF telling me he's awesome, was the drunk guy that just kept showing up on shows every now and again, slurring words and misremembering things. And then when he came back in 2002, I'm like, he's now special to me. But then you're like, actually, he's bloody good, isn't he?
Well, I imagine they're gonna. This was a pretty good show to get you excited for the Shield again. They had a few really cool moments, and I think if it is your first time watching the Shield in real time when they're actually having a pay-per-view match, I think this weekend's going to be pretty darn awesome.
Yeah, and to be honest, we're in a great period for being a wrestling fan, where if you are someone who's new to wrestling fandom and you're like, oh, I'm not really sure what the Shield's about, I'm not sure what the hype's all about, you can just go on the network. There's actually a collection on the WWE Network which chronicles the entire category of the Shield, so it picks out all their best matches, which I'll be honest is pretty much all of them, and all their best moments, and it's great. I actually watched the whole thing back to back when I was working from home a couple of weeks ago, and it was really enjoyable.
Great time to be a wrestling fan. Maybe not to be a wrestler in WWE. Everyone is on the outside,
including our girl Nia.
Well, let's see what happens.
It's speculative.
The Shield come out with their full matching attire, back in the old things. Sans Shield, unfortunately. Sans the actual Shields that I didn't know they were going to debut with up until like 5 minutes before.
But 5 minutes before they went out, Vince McMahon found them in a hallway and said, put those down. Do not go out with those.
Proper riot shields they had.
With Shield written down it.
They came through the crowd. It had Roman Reigns' music with the Sierra Hotel.
But is it Roman Reigns' entrance music, though, is a slightly slowed down version of the Shield music, and Roman Reigns' music are very different. But,
okay.
But it is only like to an untrained ear, it does sound the same. But
untrained ear.
You can't. There are differences. It's slightly slowed down in the ear, and there's a couple of more instruments in there.
I suppose you're right. When Roman comes out, it is just like da-dun, da-dun,
and also there's
da-dun.
when Roman comes out, there's no Roman.
Nice Foley with hitting the mic there as well.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Then they come down. They just all of this was cool. They hop up on either side of the ring, so Kurt Angle's surrounded. Then they get in, and I'm like, oh, because this was the Pavlovian response of things are about to get real. And then the first words out of Roman's mouth already, I'm gonna kick your ass, Kurt. And I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. And then Seth's the one, he's the architect. He's like, whoa, calm down there, big, muscly,
big dog,
beautiful man. Didn't say big dog.
I thought he did. Oh, did he not?
No. He said big dong. I'm not even joking. Like, I'm not joking. He said big dong. That was the joke. And then it's when I didn't put this in the Raw review because I couldn't work out the best. It was a crammed Raw review. I had to drop it. But yeah, I think Vince McMahon is obsessed with the idea of Roman having a big penis, and that's part of the way to get him over.
Oh, that's going to get him over. Is that what it is?
Think of all the you can see in the last year period. All the subtle references to Roman having a big bollocks or big penis or
having the big dog.
Yeah, like he's the John Cena line where his zipper was broken because he's got such a big penis, which doesn't make sense for a big penis.
Maybe someone showed him a clip of Joey Ryan and he's like, this is how we'll get him over.
Penis plex.
Penis plexes.
Yeah. So that was a weird line, but you know what you're going to do. Then Dean Ambrose was my favourite promo of the three. I was like, this is what you need to be all the time. None of that goofy nonsense. You just
nobody calls me a nerd or anything like that.
Yeah, none of that. No comedy. Just crazy Brian Pillman-like Dean. And in this, he said an important line, which would come up later. We'll take you on 3-on-3, 4-on-3, 5-on-3, blah, blah, blah. So he does that. And that's when the heels come out. Braun Strowman, Shimaro, and The Miz. And and Curtis Axel, we're going to come for you. And Kurt, to his credit, as a general manager, because he's a pretty kayfabe, lousy general manager, he's like, no, you're not going to do this. And then he made some other stipulations.
I think
at the end of the night.
I think a very interesting point to note from this is when during replays and during the night, never once called the Shield Bomb.
Yeah. Braun Strowman later on called it the triple power bomb.
It's back to being the triple power bomb again.
I'm so happy.
So that was clearly just a week of Vince going like, it's called the Shield Bomb. Call it the Shield Bomb over and over again. Call it the Shield Bomb. And then next day was like, actually that's lame. Don't do that again.
Yeah. Shield bombs knocking it back. Yeah, like Jaegers. And then Michael Cole had the very optimistic line. And as soon as he said it, I'll see what he said first. He said, this is going to be one of the great Raws of all time.
I've written here, Cole, the greatest Raw ever.
Yeah. And I just, as soon as I hear, if Jim Ross said that, someone with credibility, if Corey Graves said that, I'd be like, cool, we're in for a good show because I trust you. But because Michael Cole said it, who has no credibility, my gut immediate reaction was, this show sucks. Like you are now facing an uphill struggle with me, WWE, and to their credit, they got up that hill. By the way, Luke's got physical notes.
I've ditched the iPad for physical notes.
Yeah.
This is my terrible handwriting, which I forgot how bad it was until I started taking handwritten notes.
We are all about print physical media right now.
I've also got
the magazine. Did I mention we've got a magazine?
Also got my Halloween Havoc 98 notes as well.
That's a tease for the Patreon exclusive pay-per-view. So he says that, Michael Cole, it's going to be the greatest Raw of all time ever. He loves the Shield so much.
He bloody loves the Shield, as Michael Cole. And we'll come on to commentators having no credibility a bit later on. Tease.
But then then it really was for the greatest Raw of all time for a moment when the next segment was Elias sitting there in the middle of the ring, the spotlight thing, with two stools either side of him and Gallows and Anderson on his left and right. And just that visual, as soon as it opened up on that, I was like, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm all in on this.
This was so funny.
And they continued to make it awesome.
Yeah.
So just from the comedic scene of the spotlights on these two bald dome heads and it was like reflecting off, that already had me kind of giggling. And then the voice warm-ups.
Yeah. Nerd.
So Luke Gallows does the Nerds, and then Carl Anderson sings the Honky Tonk
sings
Man.
one of my favourite entrance music of all time. I got my long hair burns and my hair slicked back, coming to your town in my pink Cadillac, just the Honky Tonk Man. He's the Honky Tonk Man. Love that.
But the crowd weren't that into, like, they didn't really pop for that.
That's a nostalgia thing
along.
for people who've gone back through the archives.
Yeah, but or lived through it.
Yeah.
So that was very good, and possibly, and unfortunately, it's an indictment of how Gallows and Anderson have been booked on the main roster, but it's probably their best segment of 2017.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely, completely agree with you. I thought this was really funny until, man, then their opponents came out. I was expecting Matt Hardy because him and Jordan have been a tag team of sorts. And then Apollo Crews and Titus O'Neil came out, and I was like, are these lads still feuding? How can they still be feuding?
Yeah.
Like, they never win. What are they feuding with Elias over?
WWE has an interesting perception of what feud is. Sometimes they mistake feud for holding pattern, and there's been no progression at all. It's been very one-sided until here, where, I guess Jason Jordan picked up the win over Carl Anderson.
Well, of course, Carl Anderson had to.
Yeah, of course he did. But it's just, Titus O'Neil had a good act going that was getting over with Titus Worldwide. So they start to fizzle it out and undermine it, because now he's wrestling again. Mm-hmm. And where's Akira Tozawa? Why is he never hanging out with them anymore?
Tozawa has not been seen in some time. But yeah, didn't think this was very good. Well, I thought the match was fine, but like you're right. Holding pattern is completely the right word.
Yeah. There's nothing to get invested in. It was a wrestling match.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? I would like to see Titus O'Neil as part of his sports manager persona. Maybe take Jason Jordan under his wing.
Yeah, well, I mean,
see that.
They keep talking about Booker going into Titus Worldwide. It's one of their constant weekly Bookering things. That's actually one of the other reasons why I want this bloody feud to end.
Next up, we had Cedric Alexander beating Jack Gallagher with an insane lumbar check.
Before that, we also had a Asuka video package.
Oh, you're going to go through every Asuka video package as well?
Well, I'm just saying that this was
3 on this show, weren't there?
I can certainly remember this one because it led into the promo with Emma backstage,
right?
Where she said "Women's Revolution" and then Renee corrected her, saying it's actually a Women's Evolution. And I was like, it was almost like get the branding right, for God's sake.
No, but she incorrected her because Renee, it is the Women's Revolution. Emma said it right, and then Renee Young said,
okay, so is the branding Evolution now?
No, Revolution. It's always been Revolution.
No, but then they changed it to Evolution.
When?
A couple of months ago.
No, because the way this played out was Emma said I started the Women's Revolution, which is what she's been doing on Twitter and everything. So that's
yeah, but they changed that ages ago to Women's Evolution because it was the Divas Revolution, and then it became the Women's Revolution at WrestleMania, and then Stephanie's been changing it to the Women's Evolution because we're now grown out.
No, I disagree. I completely disagree. That isn't. No, it's definitely Revolution. Yeah, because then Renee Young says that it's Evolution. And then it was like, well, that's weird. I think it was Revolution. And then Alexa Bliss walks in and says to Renee Young, no, it's Revolution.
Oh, I don't know anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty confident on that. And now I've put so many eggs in being right, which probably means I'm going to be wrong.
I was going to say, because you were vehemently saying, like, I disagree.
This is the most certain I've ever been on anything. It's Women's Revolution.
The only reason I wanted to bring this up is because I cannot wait for Asuka to debut. And I've just written here, Renee deserves better.
Yeah. I don't know why that turned into such a tense discussion of an otherwise throwaway segment.
Also, we got a 205 Live video package.
Yes, and that was nice.
Because it was very nice.
It did make me... It still didn't care.
Because
the match wasn't long enough.
I thought we got 2 pretty decent 205 Live Cruiserweight segments this week. I thought this was you're right, it wasn't a particularly great match, but I thought the actual video package leading into it, and it's announced that they're going to have a match at the pay-per-view, a tag team match that's not connected to the Cruiserweight Championship, which means that feuds are just happening outside of the championship belt. I think that's a good thing. And we've got a pay-per-view that's got 3 women's matches on it, so it's just like it just feels like a more open playing field for people to get onto the card, and that I liked.
Sure, it's unfortunately it is a product of circumstance because all of their top guys who would usually be in singles feuds are in one match.
Yeah.
So that's why there's so many spots.
And Jack Gallagher needs to get rid of that babyface music.
Yeah, much like Sami Zayn, I guess. What do you make of Gallagher wrestling in a suit?
Love it.
I love it too, but it is weird. But I guess that's why I like it, right?
Yeah, I like it. It's the same way when Low-Key came back to TNA or GFW when he's doing his Hitman thing.
Yeah,
love
cool.
that. It is cool.
And I'm just going to point it out again. What a lumbar check by Cedric
What
Alexander.
a lumbar check. What a sell job on the lumbar check as well.
It's Gallagher taking that, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I guess well done, Gallagher, rather than
That's a great move.
Then we had a very good segment of Miz TV, which wasn't really Miz TV's interview of Braun Strowman. It was Miz just having a promo with everyone in his heel faction.
Mm-hmm.
And Braun Strowman came out and he spoke in his gruff way. Some good heat with Sheamus and the crowd earlier on. The crowd were, "You look stupid," and he's like, "Don't hate on the mohawk or whatever."
Yeah.
And then Miz said, "I'm gonna add a fifth man. I'm gonna accept Dean's challenge that it can be 3-on-5." And then I was like, well, here we go. It's gonna be Curtis Axel. And then they kept on building it up, and I thought, it's Samoa Joe, isn't it? I'd figured you out. Samoa Joe's meant to be returning around this time. It's been over 6 weeks since he was injured, the weekend after SummerSlam. I've got this figured out.
I had no idea. Joe didn't cross my mind.
Who were you thinking?
I thought it was Big Show. Based on, because they showed a video package beforehand of when Braun and Big Show were in the ring, and it showed him destroying the Big Show. And I was like, I mean, I know they're showing this because it's Braun Strowman in a cage, but I wonder if that's also a hint as to who's coming back as the fifth man.
Yeah, he is. He did just have hip surgery, so that's why.
Well, that was my other reason. Well, that was my reason for thinking it probably wasn't going to be him. But that was the only name that could really crop into my head was the Big Show.
But stranger things have happened, I suppose.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Curtis Axel had some fans during this segment. Some people cheering his name, which he very much enjoyed.
It was a Curtis Axel chance.
And also, like, I get that Cesaro has got some really icky teeth at the moment. He's got a bit of upset teeth. Does he need to cut promos with a shield guard in, though? It's with a mouth guard in. Same when Shinsuke Nakamura does it.
Yeah, I didn't really pick up on that. I didn't.
I swear they keep giving him words that begin with S or sentences that have multiple S's in them, so he says them badly. And he'll never be a top guy. He will never get a main event run in this company because he can no longer cut a promo.
But his teeth will hopefully be back to a normal way. I don't think he was ever going to be.
I mean, he was never going to be a top.
Anyway.
He was never going to be a top guy anyway. But this, that was always the thing that held him back. That was always their excuse. We can't push Cesaro. He can't cut a promo. So now he definitely can't cut a promo because he can't talk properly. That's really going to hold him back.
The other thing on this segment was that Miz, weirdly for heels, was like, Bo Dallas can't be here right now. Hope you're okay, Bo Dallas. And that's 2 weeks now that he's missed Raw. And Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio, it's because Bo's ill, like he's sick. But then then everything else is speculation. Bray Wyatt also hasn't been on the last 2 weeks of Raw. The last week's appearance was a pre-tape, and now. So it's like, obviously they're brothers in real life. It's a bit, it's just a bit, if it is a serious illness.
I disagree slightly on that, because I figured the reason why Bray's not been on TV for the last 2 weeks is because he's doing the Sister Abigail thing. If you bring him out in front of the live crowd, that ruins the illusion of, so if anything, if I was booking this, I'd have kept Bray off TV anyway. Yeah.
But, Bo Dallas has been gone.
Oh, that is undoubtedly true, but I think that again it's causation correlation.
Could very well be. But whatever, get well soon, Dallas.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle came out, and Kurt and Miz had a really good exchange, I thought, because they were talking over each other, like real people occasionally.
Yeah.
And then, yes, Kurt made which really gave them the whole show, and this was the real strength of that episode, was that it had a narrative thread running throughout the night. And this is where Kurt says, okay, you can get your fifth man if Braun Strowman wins the main event. If he doesn't, though, it goes down to a 3-on-3. So Braun Strowman's out. Brilliant stroke. Although it kind of telegraphs the finish, like obviously Braun's going to win. But I thought that was a great touch. The banning people from ringside was completely needless because it's a steel cage match. Shouldn't be allowed in anyway.
I completely agree with you. I thought having that narrative thread was good. The best thing about it, though, is that it was a narrative thread that lasted the 3 hours, not just the first 2, and then everything ends, and then you just have Finn Balor, Bayley, and the Cruiserweights.
Next up, we had Sasha
Banks. You sort of still had that.
Next up, we had Sasha Banks beating Alicia Fox in a match that happened because Alicia Fox, there was like a weird disputed finish from the previous week when Fox didn't seem to tap out. The referee just called for it. It was in that elimination
It looked like she
five-way.
tapped out to me. It looked like she tapped out to me.
It was weird. Well, if she did, the referee didn't call it for a while and then called it. It was strange, whatever it was, and it seems to be tied into Nia Jax supposedly originally being on that show and then not being on that show. So women's change. The plans were changing throughout the night on that Raw. And I remembered, that's the second time this year that these two have had a botched finish.
That's led to a feud.
That's led to a match the next week. Yeah, a whole feud, because we're getting this on the pre-show.
Yep, absolutely, yeah. And do you know what's... Okay, so I mentioned earlier the credibility of commentators. This is getting utterly ridiculous now. And I think you might have brought this up in your review, that Fox's big issue at the moment is she hasn't got a T-shirt. And she says, like, I've been here 10 years, I haven't got a T-shirt. But she does have a T-shirt. It's on WWE Shop right now. So that's one thing. If you're saying, like, Alicia Fox thinks she needs a T-shirt and she doesn't know she actually has got a T-shirt, that's one thing. You then have the commentators going, like, she hasn't got a T-shirt, she's got a right to be upset. It's on... If you then go to the website and go to WWEshop.com and see that she has got a T-shirt, you're like, well, why were they saying that she hasn't got a T-shirt? Because she has got a T-shirt.
Yeah.
It baffles me with writing. Like, why would you write that into a character when it's blatantly not true?
It's not consistent, is it? I believe the T-shirt only came out last week.
But it still came out last week.
It's still bad.
With a show that's being rewritten on the fly usually every single day anher it's written up to the time the show starts.
I don't think they care about the Banks and Fox feud. Because there's quite a nice story in there. You get Fox wanting this T-shirt and you build it up for ages. You get the fans wanting the T-shirt too. And then you give it to them. But now they can just go, oh no, T-shirt, don't really want it. It looks rubbish.
The other side of it is perhaps the plan was that she was going to have this thing of like, I wanted a T-shirt, and they were doing the storyline. And then WWE Shop just put it up early. Because they're always, it's happened within WWE a lot where the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, and they announce things over here but aren't ready for it over here. Mentioned in this match that Alicia Fox is a former champion. I have no recollection of that whatsoever.
I don't know.
No, they called her a former champion, and I was like, was she?
I think she won a Slammy. Does that count?
No, she said she was a former champion.
Anyway, this was it was a Sasha Banks versus Alicia Fox match, but the post match was quite fun, where Fox attacked Sasha Banks backstage, kind of knocked over a referee. That's why the pre-show match has been set up for this Sunday, and she was fined an undisclosed amount of money. Was the Michael Cole quote?
Lazy writing.
Well, at least it's better than the Sheamus knocked over a referee once when he was a babyface, and he was fined like $500,000 in storyline. And everyone's like, whoa, wait a second. No. And then, like, I remember when when Brock Lesnar F5 Shane McMahon last August after SummerSlam, he was only fined $5,000. And I was like, but, I mean, is that going to play into some tension between Stephanie and Shane? Like, I'm not really going to fight. And it never amounted to anything because, of course, that storyline was dropped. So that's Banks and Fox. Next up, we have Enzo Amore and Kalisto's segment. You like this one, so I'll let you take the lead.
Loved this. Well, it was just Enzo came out, cutting his usual promo. Then Kalisto came out, botched his lines, because that's what Kalisto does. And
Lucha things.
And then they had like a bit of a back and forth, and then all of a sudden, as you brilliantly dubbed them, the NWO rushed the ring. I just thought this was a great segment. I thought it was really, really cool. You mentioned that you wondered why Kendrick and Gallagher weren't involved, but I thought that was a good thing. Kind of keep them separate from here. You got two concurrently running storylines there. The heels don't all just have to band together. Enzo's just got his little mob crew now of Drew Gulak, Tony Nese, and the other lot.
Yeah, but the heels did just band together. That's really what's happened.
Okay, but it's the other heels.
Other heels, but there was already a pre-existing relationship between Enzo and the other heels.
There was never a pre-existing.
Yes, there was.
No,
they were out in the lumberjack match last week.
They were just being heels.
It was those three.
They were just being heels.
No, because previously Enzo had bragged on all the heels. Everyone hated Enzo apart from Mariah Daivari. That was the gimmick. And then Brian Kendrick and Jack Gallagher started to align themselves with Daivari and thus Enzo.
Did they start aligning themselves?
Yeah, because all three of them were there.
I don't
the
remember
lumberjack
this at
match.
all.
Yeah, all the other heels were against all the baby not even the baby faces. Everyone else in the cruiserweight division, heels included, were against those three lumberjacks of Daivari, Kendrick, and Gallagher, and they were supporting Enzo in the match against Kalisto.
Well, I don't recall that, but I'm actually glad that they're a separate entity anyway, because they're their own little thing, and I think that's a much better way of doing it.
But then you could have like a super faction
But
of
you-
Enzo and
You're
Gallagher
just
and
going back to
Kendrick.
your fantasy booking
No, I
warfare
just want
thing.
the Knights of Wrestling. Whereas now you do just have 4 random guys. Well, Daivari makes sense.
Yeah,
but
and
3
Tony
random
Nese and
guys.
Gulak have always been a duo as well.
Yeah, but never aligned with Enzo. I would have preferred to have kept Gulak and
I'm trying to think who the fifth person is.
it was Noam Dar.
No, I'm done. Thank you. But anyway, this is clearly building towards a Survivor Series match, which I'm very much down for. I just thought it was a great segment.
Yeah, so a 5-on-5.
Yeah.
My biggest
Legit heat as well.
Well, Enzo's over.
Yeah.
Enzo's over with the crowd. My biggest plus point, apart from the brilliant line where Kalisto said he'll be the new Cruiserweight champion coming out of TLC, while holding up his current Cruiserweight championship, that could be quite a good gimmick. Declaring yourself the new champion every time you win a match. And so my other positive wasn't Kalisto, because it's a Rush storyline. Even though it's not someone I'm particularly invested in, it's a Rush storyline as well. Not Araya Daivari. Mustafa Ali, however, I am really invested in. I think he's only had a few moments.
I've been saying it for ages that Mustafa Ali's great.
He's got a great finisher, the 450 reverse, the reverse 450 splash. He's got great facials, and he runs down to help Kalisto, a babyface helping a babyface in a beatdown, what a novelty, and immediately gives a beautiful jumping hurricanrana on one of the heels, can't remember which.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, long term, Mustafa Ali versus Enzo. That's I like that, and you build up Ali that way. Of course, there's the Neville thing. That's obviously the better match, but this is the match that will hopefully make a new star with Ali.
Yeah, really enjoyed this.
Next up, we had the tag team title rematch of Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose taking on Cesaro and Sheamus.
No Shield entrance.
No, yeah, so everyone came out with their separate entrance music. I know Shimaro's is kind of conjoined, but yeah, that was a shame.
Yeah, well, it just highlights that this is a nostalgia thing. They're not really come together as a group. So everyone who was like, oh, but they can do these future feuds down the line, it really is starting to feel more and more like a one and done. After TLC, they're just moving on to their separate things. Maybe they'll do something at Survivor Series, but come December, we'll be back to Death and... I keep calling them... I can't say Dean and Seth. Dean and Seth with the Bar and Roman with the Miz.
Yeah, I agree. This was a fine match. You know, it was a good match. They're obviously very good, 2 very good teams. They had 2 very good matches at SummerSlam and No Mercy. But if there was any debate over the New Day and the Usos, who always have good matches, who always have incredibly good matches, with this, I think it's quite clear now that the Usos and New Day are the team of the two, the feud of the two. Afterwards, though, the real gem was afterwards. Cesaro and Sheamus are backstage, sort of just like, oh, we got beat. And Curtis Axel is giving a really good pep talk. But it's not a pep talk for them. It's a pep talk getting himself over in a really arrogant, heelish way. And what makes this perfect? Not only that performance, but Sheamus and Cesaro's facial expressions, just sort of looking up and being like, what's this guy talking about? I thought this was a great segment.
I really, really liked this. The thing actually I wanted to mention about the Death Bar match was it appears as though Dean Ambrose is very unused to wrestling in that gear now. He hasn't done it for 3 years.
Oh, do you think?
He seemed a little off step with a couple of times. Like running in particular seemed like a bit of an issue for him. It almost felt like he got so used to wrestling in those paint-on jeans that now he's back to like his combat pants that he's just a little bit slower on it.
Hopefully it will help the bumps a little bit more.
Exactly, yeah. Like Roman. Roman never gets hurt because he's got that big protective flak vest.
Exactly, Bret Hart style against Goldberg. And then backstage again, Braun Strowman comes in and says, well, to Curtis Axel, who's given it large, who says, I'm going to be the 5th man. I'm the 5th man. And at this point, I thought, you're not the 5th man. You're getting beaten up and Samoa Joe's going to come out. But Braun Strowman's like, all right, then, if you think you're hard, go and fight Roman Reigns right now. And Axel, had a moment of hesitation. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And he goes off to find Roman Reigns. So that's important for later. Then we had
then we had the Sister Abigail bit, mate. It was funny that in the video package, like showing you what happened last week, that they removed the audio filter, so it was just more Bray Wyatt doing a voice like this. They like really digitized the audio last time. They've taken that off now because again, that's probably a Vince McMahon thing. That sounds stupid. Don't do that next week.
I think it sounded more stupid this way.
Oh, it sounds completely stupid this way. Yeah.
So Bray wasn't here, not in person, nor in his Titantron house, and Finn Balor was here to carry the segment by himself. Finn Balor obviously isn't the strongest on promos, so that sucked right out the gate. And then the camera comes in close to him at the end of his promo in the ring, and this bit was cleverly done because it took me a while to realise, oh, he's not in the ring anymore. This is a pre-tape thing. They cut between it quite well, so you can't see crowd behind him. It's just black, but it's not that intrusive. And as Finn's talking, he sounds a lot more passionate, like he's actually got an acting coach there, or maybe it's a live crowd fright thing when he's talking. He jump cuts between his face and an orange version of the demon.
Now, I will say this. I think it's cool. It's cool face paint. I like it when Finn is able to change up the demon character depending on where he currently is. Like when he did the NXT TakeOver Houston, I think over WrestleMania weekend, he did his. It was more Texas Chainsaw inspired. When we did London, it was more Jack the Ripper inspired. I kind of like that he's able to like change things up because that was the great thing about Finn's body paint back in the old New Japan days, was that he would always try and do something a bit different. So I saw that makeup and I was like, well, that is cool makeup. That aside, this is totally lame. We have now got the Pumpkin King versus Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas, and I just want to take you back to 2 weeks ago. Just 2 weeks ago.
Take me back there. This is a flashback.
Just like
sponsored by Smarties or whatever.
Like, to be honest, and we could even do like the WWE effects where they do little wibbles in the screen to transition between us as Sister Abigail, or us as 2 weeks ago, where we were sat there and we were like, he's teasing the actual coming of Sister Abigail. Who could it be? Will it be a new wrestler? Would it be something else? Is it all mind games? But no, did you think that 2 weeks later we'd be sitting here looking down the barrel of the gun that is TLC this Sunday, and it is the Pumpkin King versus Oogie Boogie?
No, I didn't think that. I was too caught up in the excitement of something interesting.
Yep.
Well, I guess this is interesting, but from a really terrible, morose interest.
It's
car crash.
It's goofy cartoon nonsense, and I was ready for this feud to end last month when it really should have ended. But yeah, now's the time for it to definitely end now.
The real tragedy is that if these were just two random mid-carders or main eventers I don't care about, like I never cared about Randy Orton being harmed by all the hocus pocus, because he's Randy Orton, he's there already. But Bray Wyatt and Finn Balor have the potential to be something great. And this is going to take quite a while and a lot of effort to rebuild from in the fans' eyes.
Especially if Balor is going for Brock at Royal Rumble or December or whatever. So yeah, a lot needs to be done with old Finn. Yeah, Poor lad.
So this was atrocious. This was the worst thing in WWE I've seen in quite some time.
I was about to say this week, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Next up, we have Mickie James and Bayley beating Alexa Bliss and Emma. This had been set up in the backstage thing earlier on. Bayley was sort of the surprise tag team partner of Mickie James.
I wondered whether it was going to be Asuka, because they were teasing. They were teasing all night long that Emma. Mickie needs to find a surprise tag team partner. She needs to find a tag team partner if she can find someone. And I was like, all right, okay, well, Bliss is there. She's facing Mickie at the pay-per-view. And then she's tagging with Emma, who's Emma facing at the pay-per-view. Asuka. And I was like, you don't have to have Asuka wrestle. Just have her come down and then just have Emma just look scared and run away. And then you could have had the segment with Mickie James and Bliss.
That's interesting. Because at the end of this, I thought, are they going to bring out Asuka? Is Asuka going to appear on the Titantron just to freak out Emma? And they didn't. And I thought afterwards, you know what? I prefer it that
Yeah,
way.
I agree. It was a thought that crossed my mind as to whether they were going to do that.
Yeah.
But instead they went with Bailey, and I was like, yeah, by the power of deduction, that's who I'd have ended up with as well.
It's the... God, once upon a time, that would have been a huge pop. She debuted as a mystery partner for Sasha Banks.
And what a pop she got as well.
Pop, but nobody cares. Poor
Bailey.
But yeah, this was a fine match. I'm really into Mickie James
Her
at the moment.
comeback was great. Really, really great. She's so good. And as many people have pointed out, the high irony of this is that Mickey's too old. That's the running storyline. Tamina's over on SmackDown, older than Mickie James.
Yeah, 40, I believe.
Yep.
And finally, in the main event, which was built up as something quite epic, the greatest history of Raw, the greatest Raw in history, according to Michael Cole, is a steel cage match between Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns. Not just that, there's stuff on the line. You know, will it be a 5-on-3 or a 3-on-3? So really in the Shield's interest to win.
And we had backstage Curtis Axel being hung up from the rafters, and
Completely
Miz,
forgot,
as I've written here, yuck, this team is a joke. Stop turning them into comedy. I know he's the comedy foil, but it screamed to me it was far too goofy.
No, I think that's fine, because you got it all back by the end.
No, yes, but stringing, but also I think it damages the Shield, like stringing him up by his feet. It just seemed a bit Wile E. Coyote.
I agree that. So if you haven't seen Raw and you're relying on us to give you a play-by-play, Curtis Axel, when he went off to find Roman Reigns, he was shown like sort of round the corner, about to approach them, and then it cut to Miz finding Curtis Axel suspended from the roof or whatever, with his shirt off and his legs tied up, so hanging by his ankles, which was a bit goofy. Yeah. I got it looked a bit, it looked a bit abusive for a moment there, and it also, it's like you said, Wile E. Coyote.
It's a bit Wile E. Coyote, yeah. And Mickie James also cut a promo backstage where she did something that I really wish they hadn't done, which is like, she keeps saying these things about me, and those comments hurt. Don't say that. Don't go down the whole sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
That's Nakamura's gimmick.
I know, that's gimmick infringement.
Yeah.
I just wish they hadn't have done that, because it would have been better if those insults of Alexa Bliss constantly saying like, oh, you're old, you need Zimmer frames, you're out of it, you're a has-been. And then she goes like, yeah, those words do hurt my feelings. Like, I don't care if they hurt your feelings. Hurts her physically as a wrestler.
I did like the line that James had where she said that she's doing this for her 3-year-old son. That made me more invested.
That's wonderful. Yeah. That's great. That's good character motivation, but like, all those words hurt me. Also as well, because then when you say, you look at this from a bullying perspective of Mickie James, Alexa Bliss is the bully that is saying all these mean things about Mickie James, and it's hurting her feelings. And then Mickie James's reaction to that is to call her names. So are you hurting Alexa Bliss's feelings? Because you're just as bad as she is if you're doing that. If you know it hurts, don't do it back.
Yeah. Well, I'm very into this feud, the James and
loved it.
Bliss
I just didn't like that segment.
So the great stuff about the best thing of the entire show, actually, even beyond the reveal, was for me Miz's line when one of the interviewers, can't remember which, asks Miz when he finds Curtis Axel strung up, Curtis was going to be your fifth man, what are you going to do now? And Miz says, I think the world of Curtis Axel, but he was never the fifth man.
Loved that.
What a line. And that's going into the ad break, perfectly structured. Yes, I'm going to come back to watch the main event. And and I was like, it's going to be Samoa Joe. I've clocked this. Maybe I'll even tweet it to make myself look really smart. But then we had the main event, which was a pretty decent main event in a cage.
These two always have really good matches. It's a good job that Braun's there to carry Roman, as we've been told many times.
I think the agent, a lot of the brain trust is involved in plotting out Braun and Roman's matches, because those are the two future guys you want to lead your company, really. The next Cena and the next Undertaker, I guess.
Yep. And, so enjoy these for the next 20 years.
Yeah, and they had a good match. The best thing for me was a hell of a super.
Whoa, mate, that superplex.
Yeah, so it wasn't. Was it a superplex? It was I think it was off the second rope. And Roman kind of just hurled himself over.
Oh,
Still very impressive, but it wasn't a top rope one.
So awesome.
It was a bit like Roman was out the cage. He could have just jumped. I think jumping that way down is a lot safer than flipping yourself back over. So that that took me out of it for a moment. But then, yes, despite being banned from ringside, which has not stopped anyone ever, Sheamus and Dean and Seth are out there. They're all brawling. They brawl to the back, which is when Miz follows them and locks them as they brawl into a part of the arena. He locks them in the car park area, or the parking lot.
Now, there was a moment when they were brawling backstage, when they were brawling past a ginormous toy display. It was like a big merchandise stall, and I was like, how did they not go through this?
Yeah.
Like, that was carnage waiting to happen. It was standing there. It was like a birthday cake with Vicky Guerrero around, and it never happened.
But this play, and I appreciate that touch, because usually you're like, why aren't they coming to help Roman? Especially in so many weeks leading up to this match. Seth and Dean didn't come out to help Roman. Roman didn't come out to help Seth and Dean. Mm-hmm. But this explained this moment.
Like that.
Because Roman, he's in there, he is getting cheered by the crowd. He does his ooh-ah. The whole crowd do the hoo-ah. It was like 4 or 5 years ago in the height of the Shield. And I was into Roman.
That's because Roman's really good.
Yeah, it was
if he's booked well.
Yeah. Well, he's booked well. He's just, it felt like he was past the point of no return. Maybe I can't see them doing it.
I guarantee you, once the Shield break up again, we're back to square one, back to the Pavlov. Because I do think that now, that music, when that dun hits, it's just a Pavlovian response to boo. Whether people are actually booing or not, it's just a Pavlovian response, because that's what we have been conditioned to hear. And I don't think that we're ever going to get out of that. It's like when Cena's music hits, we're just conditioned to boo it. Even if we like Cena, which a lot of us do, we're just conditioned to boo that music.
Kurt Angle.
You suck. Exactly, yeah. We don't think he sucks, but it's a Pavlovian response for us to say, you suck.
So, it's that, and I previously thought WWE had gone the point of no return with Roman as a babyface. I think he needs a drastic revamp into a heel first, and then they can try the babyface again. I still think that. I would be astounded if they manage to make this little revamp bit work.
Yep.
But maybe they can.
Mate, do you know what actually might just help him? Just changing his entrance music. Mm-hmm. Once the Shield thing is over, just giving him a brand new tune that people aren't conditioned to boo. Maybe that will help. I'm not saying it will, but it's a better idea than nothing.
So Roman's in. Roman looks like he's about to win.
It's a great near fall.
And then Kane's music hits. A slightly revamped, reversioned bit of Kane's music. Everything goes red, and I'm sitting there knowing it's Kane's music, knowing those are fire graphics on the Titantron. I'm thinking, it's not Kane. Kane's running for mayor. He literally just did an event with Daniel Bryan one weekend for Knox County. He's entering politics. It's not Kane. It's just somebody. Miz is playing something to freak everybody out.
Yeah.
And then Samoa Joe's going to walk out. It wasn't until the camera showed Kane, and then 5 seconds after the camera showed Kane, I was like, it is actually Kane. What a return. I know it's nostalgia. I know it's superficial. He's going to be gone in a month. I just thought, I was blown away by it.
I mean, but I think it's a really nice touch. It's 20 years since his debut, and yeah, it's just a really, really nice moment. And as someone pointed out as well, you've got that great storyline of Roman Reigns retired his brother. Mm-hmm. So he has got character motivation to go after the Shield. I thought this was really, really nice. There was a moment, though, where Michael Cole, when he's choke-slamming Roman Reigns, and he says, why is Kane helping out Braun Strowman? I'm like, you idiot, Cole. He's clearly the fifth man.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that hard to work out. Like, a credible commentator will be like, is he the fifth man? Is that what I'm saying? Is he the fifth man? But no, Michael's going, why is Kane doing this? I can't figure it out.
Oh, Michael Cole, what's going on around me? But it was terrific. I can't say enough good things about the Kane return.
I thought this was a great show with few low points.
Well, it had one really significant the Finn Balor Bray Wyatt part. But yeah, the Kane tombstone power driver.
Oh,
onto Roman.
What a tombstone!
Delicious.
And again, it's kind of proves the point that I made last week. I think the addition of Kane just shows that Vince McMahon every single week is just like, I don't buy into Miz and The Bar as a credible threat to the Shield. We need to add in more bodies to this.
It's a SmackDown review, Maggle. I love it. We got us a flying Uso.
Smackdown opened with Daniel Bryan in his hometown, which the crowd were very into. They chanted yes to everything.
Before that, there is something that you and I need to discuss.
Ah, yeah.
So, I came into the studio today, and as we do, we pop the kettle on. I go to make some toast, although I haven't got any bread, so I didn't do that today. And then we were talking about this Nia Jax situation, this possible Nia Jax situation where she may have walked out of Raw. We don't know, it's just some speculation at the moment. And then I said to you, I was like, and what about Tom Phillips? Away on assignment? That sounds like corporate doublespeak for, like, he's in trouble. It's like the Mauro Ranallo travel situation again. And you looked at me blankly and said, what? And I went, Tom Phillips didn't do commentary last night. And you looked at me even more blankly and went, then who did do commentary?
Michael Cole filled in for Tom Phillips last night.
And you didn't notice the whole night.
So, obviously, I'm taking a lot of the blame here. But how much blame is WWE's for creating such carbon copy commentators who have no individual sense of personality?
Look at you,
or voice or
victim blaming.
So, to defend myself very badly, we wake up very early to watch Raw and SmackDown because we're in England and there's a time difference. It probably goes live around 1 a.m. Over here. That's when it starts. And then we get up really early and watch it so we can write stuff and then record stuff. It takes a lot of time. And sometimes I don't sleep that well. Sometimes I'm a bit groggy for the first 10, 15 minutes. And to be honest, the first thing I remember is the crowd chanting yes just before Sami Zayn came out.
But then, like, at no point in the show did you go like, Tom Phillips certainly sounds a lot like Michael Cole today. Or when the camera showed Michael Cole on commentary.
Yeah, I don't know. It just did not click with me. And yes, like I said, I am taking a lot of the blame for this. But it is also crazy that if it was Mauro Ranallo, and he wasn't there, I would have picked that up right away because they sound very different. But yeah, because Tom Phillips really is a Michael Cole clone, a Michael clone. Yeah,
I thought it was very funny.
It was very funny. I can't believe I missed it. Yeah, I can tell you really intricate. I can tell you the whole board for Fashion Files. But I cannot tell you who did lead commentary for the entire show.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, so Daniel Bryan came out. He was very over with the hometown crowd, and he called out Sami Zayn, which is the first bit that we got. We were very intrigued on last week's episode about Daniel Bryan being angry, but we got nothing really to follow that up with. So this was our payoff. Daniel Bryan is angry with Sami Zayn for betraying morals and Shane McMahon. So Sami Zayn came out with the music, which makes, it's happy, jaunty music, but he moves differently.
It's almost like he's taking the piss out of his old entrance.
Yeah.
And I really actually like that. You said earlier that Sammy needs when I mentioned Jack Gallagher definitely needs new entrance music, and you said, I think Sammy could do with a similar thing. It almost actually works now that Sammy has got this happy, jovial music, and he comes out doing this mock dance to it. It actually kind of works.
I thought that here, but in the main event, when they came out separately, I thought these two need Kevin Owens music.
Yeah.
So as a unit, I think they should have KOs
yeah.
or maybe something new. But yeah, for Sami Zayn solo here.
But it takes a while for tag teams to get the same entrance. Just look at Sheamus and Cesaro. It took them a long time.
So Sami Zayn, it just feels, it hasn't changed much. That's the beauty of how he's playing this character. He hasn't changed much, but he is very unlikable now.
I love it. I think it's so great.
Yeah.
I thought this segment here, when Kevin Owens came out after that, and you had the three of them in the ring, I thought it was a wonderful segment. Really, it just played off like real emotions, and I thought it worked really, really well. And all three of them played their parts perfectly.
And that opening segment and the closing segment, you've got Kevin Steen, El Generico, Bryan Danielson, Shinsuke Nakamura, and I was like, this makes me feel good when that happens sometimes.
I am really going to miss Daniel Bryan when he goes.
Yeah, next September, it seems, as he tweeted. What was I going to say? Sammy had some money lines in this. And he was playing it so they seemed like he was pitying Daniel Bryan in a sympathetic way, but really he's just being nasty to him, which was, I used to look up to you, but now I think you should have worked smarter rather than harder. Smarter being Sammy's going to take the easy heel way out now rather than putting his body on the line like Daniel Bryan did for morals.
And that played perfectly into the finish of the tag match. Mwah, beautifully
really
done.
Intricate, perfectly logical storytelling. He blamed the fans, and then he called him Mr. Bella the housewife.
Yeah.
Or the house husband or something. And it was just such a... Like, Brian just would see... You could see he was seething. And because we believe in Brian is credible. He's, to the detriment of WWE sometimes with the Fs that he doesn't give. Those three together... This was a very good opening segment.
Yeah.
And Brian said, setting up the main event, I'm going to find two people to punch you in the mouth. And he comes back with Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura. Very credible opposition to beat.
Absolutely. Really enjoyed this.
Yeah. Next up, we had Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Naomi beating Natalya, Tamina, and Lana.
A match for about 3 minutes, maybe?
A commercial break.
Yeah, a lot of ad break in there. All mostly jobber entrances, with the exception of Charlotte. And actually, I wondered, because Charlotte got an entrance, and then no one else did. All the others were in an ad break, and then they had a bit of wrestling, and then had another ad break. And I had a sudden worry that because at the start of the show, Daniel Bryan was kind of like, just enjoying everyone chanting yes at him or like welcome home, and it kind of like was probably went longer than it was meant to. I thought, man, they're going to cut entrances. Some matches are going to be cut short because we're running long now. And
Fashion Files bumped again.
But as it turned out, they actually ran short.
Just a little, just so close.
so close. They actually ran short. But this was a fine match. Becky did one move.
Really?
One move in the entire thing.
And Lana, like, Carmella should have been in there. Lana works so much better as a manager. For Tamina,
but they can't decide. They can't decide on what she is.
Yeah, it was weird that they brought her back in because I don't know. Like Charlotte and I said this in the review. Natalya and Charlotte. There's it's a real good story there, and you don't need everyone. You don't need the entire rest of the women's division to tell it. So it's quite transparent what they're doing. They're just trying to shove all the women in one segment, which isn't as good as just telling one really good story.
I thought it was pretty lame.
But next up, we had the return of the Fashion Files with Pulp Fashion, the one that was meant to debut at least 2 weeks ago.
I think it was meant to be at SummerSlam by this point.
Yeah. So, what did you think?
I thought it was a good one. Not sure it was one of their better ones.
Yeah, but they're all good.
They're all good, very good. I enjoyed something like the Pulp Fiction jokes. It sounded like most of them went over the audience's heads. They are referencing a cult movie from 25?
92, wasn't it?
I was 94. Reservoir Dogs was 90. Yeah, so 23 years ago. So, if you know Pulp Fiction like the back of your hand, like of our generation, we probably do because we saw it on VHS in the 90s because it was like a naughty film for us to watch as teenagers. Then yeah, it was kind of all grand. The board was very funny. Reservoir Dog with Road Dogg. I thought that was quite a good one. Referenced Booker T doing it at WrestleMania 21.
What was that one?
They just had a picture of Booker T because Booker T and Eddie Guerrero did the Pulp Fiction skit for WrestleMania 21.
When they had all the movies. Yeah.
And so they had a picture of Booker T and it said Ezekiel 25:17.
My favourite one was all the John Cena pictures in his different coloured John Cena t-shirts. Mr. Orange, Mr. Brown,
Mr. Blonde.
Yes.
And that was like his original photo as well when he had like the...
the prototype. Yeah, not the prototype, but yeah, sure.
So I thought it was very good.
So but like you said, it wasn't one of the best ones. And in fact, I thought a lot of the dialogue was just quote for quote's sake. I don't think they were funny jokes.
Yeah.
They were just repeating lines from the movie.
Well, it's the thing you and I used to talk about in our old movie podcast, which is that oftentimes Family Guy is particularly guilty of this, where then it's not so much a joke, but they're like, "Oh, you recognise this, so that's funny, right?"
Yeah,
I've referenced this TV show, and you've seen that TV show, and that's funny.
Which is like it's the date movie or the superhero movie or Meet the Spartans, that kind of comedy.
Yeah.
But so Breezango were weighed down with that, but the Ascension were free to do what they have become the stars of the Fashion Files.
They were really good, and by the looks of things, the 2B case is still open. I mean, they change it from week to week, but I think it is still open. And I did like that they essentially was like, I mean, guys, there's quite obviously the Bludgeon Brothers.
Yeah. There was because like sometimes you think, what? So in this universe that happens in wrestling, none of the wrestlers see the debuting promos. So no one knows who the Bludgeon Brothers is. But when, like, the Ascension said that, it was like, I pricked the bubble really nicely.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so they all do watch the shows back and they know the agendas of various people.
I think it works in the Fashion Files at the very least because it's quite a meta show.
Yes.
So, yeah, I quite like that. I thought that was really funny.
So what I now want to see, and because they did, the Ascension tried to be friends with Breezango again. You know, like, if we give you the special syringe to save Tyler Breeze when he had a gluten-free burger, will you be our friends? Will you be our best friends? And Fandango's like, yeah, okay, do it. But Breeze woke up just before it happened. So like, so you're our best friends now? No.
And they went to do the fist bump.
Just gonna walk away. Walk away now. And so what I want is for them to keep doing that and the Ascension to know it's the Bludgeon Brothers.
Yeah.
And they've solved the case. They are Gromit to Wallace. Right?
What a wonderful comparison. Yeah, I love
so they're
that.
the people who... Breezango just inept, cannot solve a case to save their lives, but the Ascension can. They're actually good at this. They know who the culprits are, and they're the ones that save Breezango at the end. And then, then they're like a super unit, best friends unit.
And then we can get our big WrestleMania match, which is going to be a match between the Bludgeon Brothers and the Ascension. A big mean guy match.
And then the Ascension turn heel at SummerSlam.
Yes.
It's long-term booking at its finest. So actually, should we... I mean, we could just skip the next match anyway because it was so short.
What was the next match?
Sin Cara beating Baron Corbin.
Sin Cara's got a new mask and new music.
He's got funny contacts as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, so after winning the United States title, after beating AJ Styles clean in the main event of SmackDown...
Thus negating the storyline they were telling and are continuing to tell here.
It seemed like Baron Corbin was out of the doghouse, and now they were going to get behind him again like they were when he won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he just lost clean
Via count-out. So you have a real issue with the automatic rematch clause. You think it's a terrible way of telling a story, and I agree with you because this is a perfect example of it. Because of the automatic rematch clause that they choose to do and sometimes don't choose to do, I think it doesn't apply to the Universal Championship because no one ever gets their rematch for that. Goldberg, Kevin Owens, and Finn Balor have yet to have their rematches. That you had to have Baron Corbin versus AJ Styles last week because you needed to get rid of that automatic rematch clause match. And you needed to have Baron win because you need to keep him as champion, and AJ to lose because AJ's being moved up towards Jinder. Problem was then is that Baron Corbin just beat AJ last week clean as a sheet in the middle of the ring, which means that the storyline that they were telling apparently ended, and the commentators were even like, Baron didn't take the cheap way out. And then here, they're kind of like going back to that story again of that, like Baron tries to win cleanly and messes it up. So it throws everything out of whack, and there's now not only that, but now you've got AJ going towards the WWE Championship as a loser.
It's really bad booking across the board for me. It's not helping Corbin a single bit. It's not helping Sin Cara.
No, Sin Cara didn't get over through this.
And I mean, the only good thing about this was when Baron Corbin at the start was like, should I make this a US title match? Should I bring back the US Open title challenge thing? And everyone's like, yeah, well, let's do this. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not going to do that. So that was good, but the rest of it was really bad.
Yeah.
So Bludgeon Brothers, which was the one we were going to go straight into.
Well, actually, we first got... so the Usos were cutting a promo backstage, and they were then interrupted by Gable and Benjamin, who you'd think were the baby faces. But in the way that they put this, they came across as the heels.
Yeah, and Usos was smiley and like,
we're going to shake your hands. And they were like, oh, no. And it's almost like, are you booking them to be wacky baby faces and they're still the heels? Or are they now the heels because they're dicks and the Usos now the baby faces because you're being dicks to them?
Yeah, I mean, the Usos and the New Day feud was so unique that both teams are sort of now beyond face and heel. They're just really great and people like to watch them. So you could have just had a really great Usos team go against a really great American beater. But yeah, I mean, it's too early to tell. I wasn't put off by this, or it was just a thing.
This was a promo that had not been staged particularly well, because Paul Renee's there holding the microphone, not passing it over to Benjamin when it needed to. So Benjamin, most of his lines were said off mic, because Benjamin was probably used to the days in like 2004 when they were doing overhead mic rather than now a generic interviewer going like, "My guest at this time."
Well, the height difference between Renee, Gable, and Benjamin is quite extreme as well, so to manage all those.
Poor Renee, she deserves better.
So yes, this Bludgeon Brothers promo, this is the second one we've had. The first one was just in a blacked out room. This one was in a forest.
Yeah, I at first thought it was against a green screen, it was shot so poorly, but actually
it had a lot of grain on it, didn't it?
Yeah.
Artificial grain, which is meant to make it look like nighttime, but it was quite clearly full light.
Yeah, but I think this was a better promo than last week. It was kept much shorter. They said a lot of nonsense and then ended it with Harper, Rowan, Bludgeon Brothers.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Thank you. And then they used their hammers to smash the ground.
Yeah, or us, I guess, because it was a point of view of the camera being smashed.
I mean, I know a lot of people are dead against the Bludgeon Brothers and think it's a bit lame, and they're not wrong. But I kind of like it. I kind of like it. It seems like the sort of gimmick they would do in NXT. And then you'd see him be like, that's never making it up to the main roster. A bit like, who's a good example of that?
Ascension.
Well, actually, no, the Ascension, I was like, I could see Triple H loving the Ascension. But yeah, who's a good... The Velveteen Dream feels like an act that will never get over on the main roster. But like, we've got
a t-shirt down.
The Velveteen Dream is kind of getting himself over in NXT, and I'm really enjoying his feud with Aleister Black, and I think he's pretty awesome. But it's the sort of gimmick that when it blows up the main roster, people are going to be like, oh, it's Adam Rose. We're not going to get behind this. So the Bludgeon Brothers feels like that NXT gimmick. The Vaudevillains is another one. But here it is in the main roster, and I kind of like that.
It just feels like the Wyatt family up until... It's like they're the Wyatt family... And
but
then
not.
they say Bludgeon Brothers, and they've got hammers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, but the Wyatt family didn't need to be changed. I'm not into this at all. I think it looks ridiculous, to be honest.
I don't know. I'm kind of into it.
We had Jinder Mahal's big announcement, which was the most hype thing. It was advertised on Raw the previous night.
Why did it take so long for you to do that Jinder Mahal video package where he goes to India as a conquering hero? That should have been done straight away. It's not that expensive to fly, when you're a $1 billion company, to fly someone over to India to film some stuff.
Are they a $1 billion company?
I'd imagine they're turning over. If they're not turning over $1 billion, they're turning over a lot of money.
I think they're turning over like 500 million something, and maybe their estimated company worth is over $1 billion. I don't know.
It's not small change.
Yeah, they should be able to get Jinder over there. So yeah, this Jinder came out and said what Dave Meltzer broke over the weekend, that it will be. Well, he made the challenge for a Jinder versus Brock Lesnar match.
Now, a few people have got in touch with us over Twitter to ask what we think about this, and I think that it's a marquee match. It's a Survivor Series. You want to advertise a big market. It's champion versus champion. So in the WWE bubble, in their mind, this is a big time thing because it's champion Brock Lesnar versus WWE champion Jinder Mahal, a clash of the titans. The unstoppable beast versus the immovable Indian. And they're going to clash at Survivor Series. Problem is, no one buys into Jinder as champion because he's been booked so poorly since winning the belt that the match is actually going to end up doing not really that much business. It's not going to do the sort of business that Brock Goldberg did last year. Not only that, but historically, when they've done the brand split, champion versus champion matches have never drawn. They've done them on pay-per-views, it never drew. They'd used to do it on TV, and it never drew then either. So it's interesting they've gone this direction, but at least it gives them something to do. And Jinder will lose.
That's the problem. I can't see... Well, unless it's a screwy finish, I can't see Brock losing. So that means Jinder's going to be beaten 2 weeks ahead of his India tour in December. Jinder's apparently working injured as well.
The other thing, I suppose that does make sense then. If you're building Brock up for Roman at Mania, Brock not only beating Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe, he's also beating the WWE champion. And he's just tearing through all these people getting into WrestleMania. Then the Romans win at WrestleMania is even more impressive.
No. They wouldn't let Jinder beat Brock, would they?
Oh, no.
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 I feel like they're going to let Jinder beat Brock.
You reckon?
Yeah, to plant a seed of doubt.
Oh right, what? No, don't do that.
No, I don't agree with it, man. But that's what I'm thinking. Just like how Goldberg beat him last year.
That's dreadful
A
storytelling.
screwy finish with the Singh brothers. Oh, it's a non-title match.
Yep.
Oh no.
I mean,
What have they done?
I can't see it happening, but
India's a big deal for them.
India is a big deal for them, and it is 2 weeks before they go.
Well, like if you're thinking India, that's the next big thing. That's a hell of a way to get over Jinder.
But are you willing to sacrifice that? This thing you've been working so hard on for over the other thing you've been working really hard on all year, which is the F5 versus the Spear come WrestleMania.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm scared. Well, anyway, that happened.
And then AJ Styles came out.
AJ Styles came out and said, well, you haven't beaten me yet, which apparently is false. Jinder has beaten AJ.
Has he?
Yeah, I can't remember when. Someone tweeted me. I didn't check it out, but maybe he has. And then made Jinder look really strong by beating up Jinder and both Singh brothers.
Yep. So, yay, AJ's back in the title picture. Boo, it's playing second fiddle to this feud he's having with Brock Lesnar. So, it just means that AJ's now in a holding pattern for until December.
Yeah, you can imagine it's a December pay-per-view match.
Yeah, because he can't challenge for the WWE Championship because there's no pay-per-views from now until Survivor Series, and Survivor Series is facing Brock Lesnar. So poor AJ's now stuck.
And it will be Sunil. Is it Sunil next week for versus AJ?
Yeah.
Brian made that. Then we had Dolph Ziggler versus Bobby Roode.
2 minutes maybe? Very short match.
Yeah. Well, this was another commercial break match. But it wasn't, the entrance shtick is good. Obviously, Roode's got a great entrance. Ziggler has a nice record scratch one where he comes out to no music now. But it's 50-50 booking.
Yeah.
It's real damaging level. Because Bobby Roode, he's great. Okay, you want him to be a babyface for his initial run when he should be a heel. But okay. But then get him over as a babyface. Don't have this 50-50 eternal feud that people seem to get stuck in with Ziggler. Yeah, this is not good.
This is pretty bad.
But at least Rusev Day is still a thing.
Thank God. So when Aiden English is backstage singing, and then the New Day interrupted, my first reaction was like, they're going to have a tag team feud. They're going to have a tag team feud. Mm-hmm. This fills my heart with joy. And then they did Rusev. Rusev then entered into the fray. Xavier Woods played Rusev's music on the trombone, which was wonderful as they danced around. And it was like, it's no longer the New Day, it's Rusev Day. And I was like, I can't wait for this feud. Now I think it's going to be awesome. And then what might be my favourite moment of SmackDown, Aiden English went to sing, it's Rusev Day. And Rusev just went, now's not the time.
Yeah, it's nice that he's still using Randy Orton's music for the tune of that. This was very funny.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Rusev is better than this.
Yeah.
But this was good. Did you see Rusev on Xavier Woods' Up, Down, Down channel?
No, I've tried to watch some of the videos, but I can't overly get through them.
Well, you can watch, this is just a little moment
just watch potted
from the
highlights.
Rusev one, the highlight. And, I can't remember his name, but, like, The Last Dragon, apparently this is one of Rusev's favourite movies, and they bring it like they're just talking normally, and then they bring out the guy who starred in The Last Dragon, which was like this 80s cult thing. It's got a famous line about kiss my Converse. But Rusev, it was like Rusev's favourite film as a kid, and the guy obviously walks in. It is just a joy to watch. Rusev is so happy. I've never seen joy like it.
Speaking of that, I saw a video posted quite recently of a guy 25 years on, so 25 years listening to its release, listening to Rage Against the Machine's first album for the very first time and recording his reaction to it. And it is just unmitigated joy of just like, how have I never heard this album before? It is wonderful. And it's genuinely brought a massive smile to my face.
I'll probably get that when I eventually watch Scott Hall versus Shawn Michaels in the famous ladder match. Still never seen it. It's like the one thing I've never seen.
Yeah.
But the main event, after what was a pretty shoddy SmackDown in the middle there, not some really bad stuff, the main event was superb.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn taking on Shinsuke Nakamura and Randy Orton. Nakamura and Zayn starting off the match in a sort of homage to their NXT match. Nakamura's debut, that was. And yeah, a great act. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, surprise, surprise, are a great team. And they were put over as a great team by beating very credible opposition in Nakamura and Orton. And it doesn't hurt Nakamura and Orton because they are not a team. They're just two singles guys. They teamed together last week, but they don't have that, that understanding that a well-seasoned tag team has.
And Sammy cheated to win. And that
as well, yeah.
And that is, as we said earlier, beautiful storytelling.
Mwah.
Because 3 weeks ago, if Sami Zayn was in a match with Randy Orton, he wouldn't have cheated to win and would have lost. But they've told the story here. He followed the Kevin Owens way. He did cheat, and he pinned Randy Orton 13 times. I mean, they probably should have put this over more on commentary. 13-time world champion, Sami Zayn beat him. That's great. Heels are at their best when they're right. Oh, this was awesome. Loved it. And you're right, it doesn't hurt anyone, but it puts over Sami Zayn.
It was really, really... It was just... It made me think of those... Not of the level of star power, but just... It felt reminiscent of when SmackDown would just always have really good tag team main events with like The Rock and Chris Jericho versus Triple H and Benoit, or The Undertaker, just like these crazy main events. And that's kind of what this is, I guess. It didn't feel like it, but that's a bit of a dream match, right?
Yeah.
The first tag team pairing of Owens and Zayn against Nakamura and Randy Orton. Like that's like my indie dream. Well, Orton's the odd bit out there, but that's a big deal, and it wasn't played up as much like that. But it felt like that to me.
Yeah.
And full credit to the announcers table for actually breaking for once.
Yep.
That's what happens when you chuck a normal sized man on it, as opposed to a Singh brother who just lands there awkwardly dead.
Floats like a feather.
Yeah, he does. He just comes down gracefully. This was great. Then Owens and Zayn went backstage, and Bryan did the cliffhanger of, I'm not going to choose your opponents because next week Shane McMahon will. Obviously where it should end.
Yeah. Well, they ran a little short, and they just started to film the dark match segment where Owens and Zayn and you could almost hear Vince McMahon just like, get out there, damn it. We need to fill the time. Get out there.
The camera awkwardly cuts back to Randy Orton and Nakamura, who are posing, sort of like looking intently. Someone's obviously told them, a referee or something.
We're running short. Stand at the end.
Just stand there and look at the entrance ramp. They're going to come back out. So they're just doing their best to awkwardly stand there for about 5 seconds too long. It's just it's like it's fine to have that for a bit, but then it just went on too long for a little bit too long. And then Owens and Sami Zayn come back out having a ball. It felt like a house show because, like you said, it probably was this bit. Zayn's running around doing the yes, 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 very happy. And Owens ends with the brilliant line, now hug me, hold me tight.
Yeah, that was great. It was a very odd ending, considering that you just had those two backstage with Daniel Bryan saying to them, by the way, Shane McMahon's coming back next week. And they're like, oh, Shane McMahon's coming back. And then literally running out going like, hey, guys, everything's great. Not selling the news they'd just been given. Just a very weird ending.
I loved it because it quite clearly went wrong. And I found this very fun. And I thought Owens was spectacular. Now, I think Owens said recently in an interview that his partnership with Jericho and his Universal title run, although very fun, didn't live up to his own internal expectations. And I think, that's quite easy to see because it was a comedy act rather than a main event Universal title act. And that always, as much as I enjoyed the chemistry between them, it was really the Chris Jericho show, and Owens was there as the straight man who, really... yeah, you know what I mean. Owens and Zayn, I think, if they carry on this path, could be better than the Chris Jericho pairing.
I agree.
But which one was better, Raw or SmackDown? Click the I above our heads right now to vote in the poll, because it counts. These count in the overall WrestleRamble war for the month, which I am winning 1-0. We will reveal the Fantasy Booking Warfare result in Saturday's TLC predictions. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, Raw or SmackDown? Vote in the poll above our heads, by the way.
very obviously for me, this one, Raw was the far better show.
Yeah, Raw as well. Yeah, the SmackDown was really not just boring and average like it usually is in the middle when Kevin Owens isn't in any segments. It was bad. A lot of the stuff on there was actively bad.
Whereas I thought Raw, outside of the Finn Wyatt stuff, was just solid.
Yeah, and it's so nice to be surprised by because it's that thing.
Yeah.
We keep up to date with all the spoilers, and Kane was a genuine surprise, and that was really nice. It's nice to be surprised.
Well done, guys.
But yes, that's all we've got time for today. So click the videos that have just appeared over Luke's face to catch up with the latest WrestleTalk news or WrestleRamble. Subscribe to this podcast on your chosen podcast provider, and of course, this YouTube channel. Support WrestleTalk on Patreon. Order the magazine, why don't you? This has been Luke Owen. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was Rambling.